You've achieved a lot in this lifetime, but you're only scratching the surface because this healing is going to open your heart to just thrive. And if you ask these parts of you, if you weren't working so hard to manage my feelings, what else might you be doing? Like, it would be fabulous.
Gabby Bernstein, whoa.
Wait, what did you say? I'm legit.
You're legit, you're lit, you're gorge.
Legit gorge?
Gorge.
Jit gorge?
At any lev, at every lev.
Oh, gorge at every lev.
There you go. Boom.
Jeff, I got to hang out with you all the time.
Wait till Oliver's a teenager. Oh man.
God. Gorge at every lev. Yeah.
Yeah.
What it will be in 10 years.
Yeah. So yeah, I keep my vocabulary up to date by dint of my siredom of 3 daughters.
Yeah.
As you know. And you've known them since they were like basic glint in my eye.
Rolling from tent to tent at the Wanderlust festivals.
That's right.
It was Phoebe was the one that was always like, hi, and giving hugs and running shit.
Yeah. Still is.
Still is.
So I was at a dinner last night and talking about you behind your back. And something struck me about our relationship together. And because I've known you now for 15 years, maybe.
Yeah, easily, yeah.
And you were one of the first people that took a chance on me. That's what came to me last night. Because you came to Wanderlust really before it was a thing. It was more like, hey, Gabby, I sort of have this thing. Will you show up? And you did. You showed up for me. So thank you.
Which Wanderlust are you talking about? Like the actual studio in LA?
No. Like I'm talking about the festivals.
The festivals.
Early days.
Yeah. Like I was probably like one of the first non-yoga teachers. That's right. Kind of thing. Yeah.
And you came to Vermont and did Kundalini.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, big time. See, that's so funny that you perceive it that way. I did not in any way, shape, or form feel like I was taking a chance on you. I felt like it was such a privilege for me to be there. It was like a big deal for me to be there. Yeah. Sean Corn was there, and Skylar, and I was like, oh, I'm on the stage with these people.
That's right.
Elena,
yeah.
Oh, no, it was big.
And then we had a very fond memory that has stuck with me for some time that we drove through Brooklyn looking at real estate.
Yes,
remember that?
Did.
And looked at a bunch of funky lofts in like Greenpoint.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Thank God I did not end up there. But that was a path. That was
great.
a time when the real estate market was really bad. It was really, really high market. Like everything was, as far as I can remember. Yeah, it was bad.
But it was funny, those moments that stick with one, across a long relationship.
Yeah, I like that too, because during COVID, I think a lot of those long relationships I had, we got separated from so many people, and then you come back and you're kind of falling into a new lane. And a lot of my longtime friendships, I hadn't seen those people in a long time because we weren't doing live events or we weren't traveling. Yeah. And then reuniting with folks, just in this instance, just like you, it's such a beautiful gift to have these long-winded relationships, decades, almost 2 decades, to be able to say, oh no, this is my brother. I was saying to Josh, my producer, as we were pulling in, I was like, Jeff's like a brother to me.
I've seen you I saw you fairly recently with the other Gabby Reese, and Robin Burson, briefly. But there is a mutual feeling that we just drop right in, even if we haven't seen each other for 6 months or a year.
That's right. So yeah, that's the best kind of friendship. We're back.
Good. So you've introduced me to a new school of thought, a new psychotherapy called internal family systems. This has been a big deal for you. You've gone deep into this modality. It's started by Dick Schwartz, who wrote the foreword very generously, and
beautiful, right?
Was also happy for you to take his work that, if I remember correctly, it's existed for
43
decades,
years, yeah,
and now really kind of help to popularize it and bring it to a wider audience.
Big deal.
It's really great.
Yeah.
So I came to this really with, I would just say, not even a vague understanding. I came into it as a newbie, and I would call myself barely an acolyte at this juncture, but it was amazing to learn about this system through reading your book and think about it just in terms of my own personal experience too. So maybe we'll just start, for people who are not familiar with internal family systems, we'll probably call it IFS, right?
Yeah.
What are some of the basic tenets here?
Yeah. Well, first I'll share sort of how IFS found me, because we have these paths that we are guided on. and they're not an accident. So in my therapy for about 7 years, I had a therapist that was using a specific style of therapy, but I didn't know what it was. And it was something that was having a great impact on me, but I didn't know what we were doing. And then one afternoon, about 7 years into this practice, I was watching this YouTube video, and it was an interview with Dr. Richard Schwartz, Dick Schwartz. I'm watching Dick, and I'm listening to him talk about this therapy, IFS, that he created, and I scream. I'm like, that is the therapy that I've been doing for 7 years with my therapist. Holy shit. And this was around this was in 2020. In 2021, I started my podcast, Dear Gabby, and my third interview was Dick Schwartz. Because I was like, I got to know more about this. It was deep in my own trauma recovery at that time, really becoming a student of all different types of spiritual trauma modalities, IFS namely. And I have Dick on the show. We become friends instantly. I share my desire to know more and teach more of the model, and he suggests that I do the training. Thankfully, by the grace of God, this was at a time when the training was still available to non-therapists. And it's a very hard training to get into, and I got blessed. I was able to get into it. I got in, I did level 1 and level 2 training in 2021 and 22. And I'm an IFS practitioner, even though I'm not a therapist, but I'm trained in the model. And I knew that I wanted to use it, but there was no way I was using it. I'm not a therapist. I didn't want to use it in a one-on-one practice. I'm a one-to-many. You know who I am. You've been with me for a long time. And so I started kind of using it on my podcast. And then I realized, no, I got to write a book about this. And so I said to Dick, I would like to take this 43-year model that you've trained millions of therapists throughout the world, and I want to make it self-help. And with his blessing, I did it. And with his beautiful forward and blessing.
Yeah, very sweet.
So gorgeous. Yeah. So what is IFS? Internal Family Systems Therapy was founded by this guy, Dick, who started off as a family therapist. And he would do family systems. So he would do it with the group. At one point in his career, he was working with women that were dealing with eating disorders. Right. And in that counseling, he would recognize these women talking about these different parts of them that would take over. The part that wants to binge, or the part that wants to self-harm or cut. And then sometimes they'd say, well, when I have these other moments of spontaneous feelings of calm or inner peace or connection, and they would describe these qualities of themselves that would also emerge. And he asked, well, who's that part? And they would say, that's just myself. That's self. And what he realized was that just like the external family of people with all the different personalities and all the dynamics, we have an inner family of different parts of who we are. Lots of little young experiences, lots of protection mechanisms, lots of extreme parts of us that we never want to face again, all in this crazy chaotic soup of this inner world. And he realized if I could help these younger inner parts of these people feel more of that self part that they could speak of, then maybe those extreme parts could be more calm. And that's where he took his systems therapy and turned it inside and made it internal family systems.
Yeah. I think that was the first big aha, right? Is that when you hear the word IFS, it's the family inside of you.
That's right.
So let's hover over the idea of self for a second.
Yes.
Because self has a sort of particular meaning within this context, and I think then you actually sharpen that a bit in the book. So
yes. So I'll actually kind of break it down really simply, because IFS is a very big idea. It's a very deep therapy. Yeah. But my gift is to demystify and simplify. So let me just sort of break down I'll start with self, because that's what you asked for. So inside all of us, we have a resourced energy, the God within us, the spirit within us, the Buddha nature, the part of us that's alive when we're in a creative state, the energy of love within us. And we have access to it at all times. It's always there. And that is a presence of connection and clarity and compassion, creativity, courage, these seed qualities, confidence. And when we're in this state of self, we are often maybe fleeting moments. We find our way into self, right? Like in Shavasana, or we find ourselves into self when we're having a moment with a child, and we're in that awe and that compassion and connection. But most of the time we're living with these barriers built up against this presence of self inside. And those blocks are what are known as protector parts in IFS. And if you've ever said to yourself, well, I have this protection mechanism, or I have a part of me that acts out when I get triggered, or a part of me that, you know, is really controlling when I don't feel like I'm in control, or we speak of these parts of ourselves. Can you think of a part of yourself?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I have the people pleaser part.
The people pleaser part, big one. Yeah.
It's a big one for me.
Big one.
Yeah.
And so we have these, that would be a protector part, which is what we would call in IFS, a protector. Yeah. For me,
these are the dark clouds that cover
the sun. The clouds that cover the sun.
Yeah,
self is the sun behind the clouds. Yes,
that's in the book.
Quote.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful quote.
Yeah.
And so the self is the sun behind the clouds, and the self is always there, but we have to lift the clouds so that we can see self again. And so some of those clouds are these protectors clouding out that light, and they're really, simply put, protection mechanisms. But who are these protectors protecting? They're protecting young, exiled parts of ourselves from extreme experiences that we had as children typically, but even as adults, whenever we've experienced any form of trauma, big T or small t. So I myself had a very extreme trauma as a child that was a extreme trauma of sexual abuse. I had a protector that was so strong that dissociated from that abuse, so much so that my brain cut it out. I just didn't remember it until I was 36.
You went to dorsal shutdown.
Shutdown.
Yeah.
Protector. Another protector that protected against that exile self was the cocaine addict and the drug addict and the alcoholic, or the workaholic, or the love addict, or the food addict, all these forms of addiction that I leaned on to anesthetize that suffering from my childhood that I was so unbearable and was so impossible to even touch into, recognize, or face. And so from a very young age, I built up many protection mechanisms to protect against that impermissible feeling.
So those protector parts, I know that there is a taxonomy there, right? So there's a sort of the diet versions or the manager
There's two
part.
styles. There's managers,
and then
yes.
there's like the hardcore firefighter.
Yes, you've done your homework, babes. So the manager would be the people pleaser as a manager, although it could become more extreme at times.
Right.
But that would be something that's like a day-to-day managerial part, right? It's a part of you that all the time throughout the day might be protecting you. And so you please so that you don't have to feel something that's exiled. And so for me, it would be controlling or overworking, or sometimes rage might be a manager. So it's like, I can't handle this right now. I'm just going to rage on it. Whereas when the controlling wouldn't work anymore and I'd get really triggered by something extreme, then the firefighters come out. And that's the parts of us that will do whatever it takes to put out the flames of that younger part, that the exile.
Right. And is that like
addict.
Doing 4 shots of tequila or something?
That's the addict. That's the suicidal part.
Yeah.
That's the very extreme, I got to check out. I cannot feel this. I'm going to go away. Like I'm out of here.
Are they always numbing agents?
Yes, they're not. I mean, they come in different forms, but
right.
the firefighters are really about really putting out the fire. So it's going to be an extreme behavior that at times can be very, very scary. And the beautiful thing is that these parts have help. The help is inside, and the help can come from connecting to self. And that's the thesis. That's the promise of IFS. That when these younger parts start to be recognized and they start getting some attention through the therapeutic setting, self begins to naturally emerge almost spontaneously through this process that Dick would take the patient through. Now, I am not going to take somebody through this journey because it's meant to be done in a one-on-one setting, and I'm not a therapist, and I don't want to do that one-on-one work. And I want to teach people how to do it for themselves. So I created a self-help practice that's informed by internal family systems therapy. So what's inside this book isn't IFS. It's IFS informed. It's taking this big concept and making it simple so that somebody can practice it and get used to the idea that there's these extreme parts of them inside and that they actually have an inner healer that can help.
It's funny because I didn't really know that was your specific goal, but I inadvertently applied that goal to myself as I was reading and listening to the book. And so I actually metabolized a bunch of trauma and examined parts of myself as you were describing the process. And it was really, really helpful.
Yeah. And in every chapter, there's this 4-step check-in.
Yeah.
And we'll do it together. So the 4-step check-in is, so everyone that's listening or watching can think about, maybe they may or may not be aware of a part of themselves, but maybe they're aware of a feeling that they have often. Like maybe they have anxiety all the time, or they feel rage often, or they know that when their boss challenges them, they get super fiery and want to fight back. Think about a part of you that shows up, maybe a part of you that shows up at work or in relationships. And if you notice that part of you and you start to extend a little bit of curiosity to it, you can begin this journey. So the first step in the 4-step check-in is to choose to check in.
Yeah.
And this is crucial because these parts of us, these protection mechanisms, have been around for a really long time. They're like little kids inside of us. And if you went to any of your girls when they were little and you were, or even now, and you were like, I see you're upset. Tell me how you're feeling. They'd be like, no, Dad. They'd give you the hand, right? You're sus.
Yeah. I roll.
I roll and you're sus.
Yeah.
And I see that even with my 6-year-old. And so we have to choose to check in. So recognize that we have to turn our attention inward and feel, do I want to do this right now? Are all parts on board to go and check in? And so if you make that choice consciously, that's the first step. The second step is curiosity, which is another self-like quality. Asking some questions to that part of you. So the questions might be, how long have you been around? Where are you in my body?
Yeah.
What do you feel like? Are there any images or thoughts or stories or anything that you want me to know? And as you start to focus your attention inward towards that part, you create some connection. And once you notice a little bit of connection, the third step is to compassionately connect to the part. And this is where you can give it a little bit more attention and ask that part of you, what do you need? And the part will usually say, I need a nap, or I need to play, or I need to help myself, or I need to get a hug, or they'll tell you really clearly, these parts of you. And the final step is to then check in more and notice how you feel. Notice if there's C qualities of self. So check for C's. Do you feel a little bit more calm? Do you feel a little bit curious? Do you feel a sense of compassion towards your part? Do you feel connected? Do you feel courageous? Do you feel creative? Do you have those C qualities spontaneously coming through? Even if you slightly feel a touch more calm, self energy is coming through. And then you rinse and repeat. You do it all day, every day. That's the practice.
Yeah.
Or you do it once a day, but I do it all day.
Yeah. So can I personalize this a tiny
Let's
bit?
do it, yeah.
And I'm not trying to just get a free therapy session or
I'm
anything.
happy to give you free therapy.
So,
I'm not a therapist, so I'm going to give you free IFS. Yes.
100%. It's more just to explain the system within an example context.
I think it's the best way to showcase this. Yeah, it really is.
So I'll try to be brief to set the foundation. So I moved around a ton when I was a kid. I was getting lugged around by my parents. I was a very chubby kid, and I lived overseas. So I was born in Chicago, moved to California, but then moved to England, moved to Spain, moved to Brazil, and then 3 different times in Brazil. And every 6 months or so, I would get uprooted and thrown into the, choppy seas of a new social situation, as a young kid, as a chubby kid, as a kid having to learn a new language in a new country, in a new school with pre-existing cliques of kids, etc. That was really, really hard for me. And my whole childhood was an exercise in fitting in, more or less. There was one particular event, which has a humorous side to it, but I was at the American school in Rio de Janeiro, where we lived, and I was kind of the outcast when I got there, and there was a ritual on the playground, and this ritual was you'd run down the grass and then launch yourself up in the air, and there was a little bit of a slope, and then you'd land on your butt and you'd slide down. It's just a kid's thing, right? And over and over, having done it enough times, like there was sort of a landing strip where the grass had given way to dirt and stuff. But so I, as a chubby kid, assiduously avoided this pastime. And it was sort of led by the school kind of bully, this guy, Bubito. You can might intuit where this is going. So one day, I don't know where I got it, but I summoned the courage. I'm like, I'm going to do it. And so I queued up in line and like, okay, here we go. And like, ran the best I could and sort of launched myself sort of like a baby robin, his first flight, and kind of like plunked down the hill. But I made it down the hill, it was like, okay, I did it, and there's a, Americano, whatever. So I was like, okay. And so I like trudged back up the hill a little more confident this time, like pulled my polo down and went cinched my belt and stuff like that. This time I ran with a little bit more verve, went up, landed.
Pants ripped.
Right down the seam of my ass.
Oh, baby.
And I kind of scooted down the path, which was worse because it made it look like my underwear, my tighty whities were like poop stained.
Yeah.
And I remember this really with great clarity.
Yeah.
And then the school bully just thought this was the most hilarious, wonderful thing that ever happened and sort of sent him into paroxysms of joy. And he started this chant, "The American shat his pants." The American shat. Everyone was, screaming it on the playground. And, I made it back, to the classroom and I summoned my mom. I pretended I was sick. And, the nurse called my mom and, she dutifully picked me up and, escorted me as I kind of slunk my backpack behind my pants.
Yeah.
And as I was going out to the car, there was still the kids on the playground. "Oh, the American shat his pants." Anyways, so this moment,
Before we go into that, Jeff.
Yeah.
Can I ask you right here? Would you like to do a little connection to the part now? Because I could see you were touching into it.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I'll just finish with saying that experience became incredibly emblematic of my life as this chubby kid that would never really belong. And that informed nearly 5 decades of people pleasing, where I essentially put my self-worth, I based it through other people's opinion of me, such that I was always trying to do the right thing for them. And even like the tiniest insult would kind of send me into anxiety.
Yeah.
So that's,
The reason I was cutting you off was only because I saw you feeling into the part.
Yeah.
And I actually don't think that we even have to go directly to the little boy, because that's actually the beauty of this work, is that we can just talk to the people pleaser and get as much information as we need. And so if you're comfortable, first of all, I want to say thank you so much for sharing that with me and the courage that you have to share it now as adult Jeff, and the courage you have to be the guinea pig today. You even said it before we started, I'm going to be the guinea pig. And you even used the words, I'm going to, make a fool of myself. And that's another protector, right? It's like, let me laugh it off. Let me make a joke of it. Right. And,
totally.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I'd love to just connect to the people pleaser if that feels safe for you.
Sure.
And to acknowledge before we begin that there's a lot of courage in just deciding to do that today.
Thank you.
In the service of your listeners and everybody here.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of people can relate to that story.
We all can.
Yeah.
We all can. Or most in our own ways.
Yeah.
So when you think about that people pleaser, before we begin, would you feel comfortable checking in with that part of you?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. So we've done step 1, choose to check in. And gently just focus your attention inward. And you can close your eyes if it's more comfortable. Sometimes you might want to look at me, you might want to close your eyes, whatever feels safer for you in the moment. But just bringing your attention inward and notice where that people pleaser lives inside of you. Physically, is it a spot in your body?
I'm very familiar with this spot. Yeah. So I suffered, and I still have pings of this in moments, but I suffered from chronic nausea for most of my life. And I know that feeling with
Where
like
is
an
that feeling?
old friend. And so it's an old frenemy.
Where is it?
It's right here.
Right in your gut.
Yeah,
Okay.
right in my gut.
Does it have like any color or a shape or?
Yeah, it's this sort of bubbling gruel.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Okay, nice way of describing that. And are there any images or sensations or memories that are connected to that people pleaser part inside of you?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, an encyclopedia.
Anything that comes to mind right now?
Yeah, I mean, I see it in myself all the time, candidly. I see it in how I conduct myself publicly,
Okay.
where I don't want to ruffle feathers.
Okay.
I will sometimes tamp down my own opinions about things or my own ideas in the service of someone else's comfort or ideas.
Okay.
Yeah, it's often putting my needs second or last.
Beautiful. Okay. And how old is this part of you?
This is old.
Old. Been a long time.
This is moldy.
Yeah. Moldy. Okay. So it's been around for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any other thoughts or feelings or sensations that you want to speak for right now that are present even in this moment for this part?
No. Yeah. I mean, I know this feeling when it gets extreme and it comes up into the base of my neck and I feel like I'm going to vomit. I never actually do. That's the crazy thing.
Yeah. Can you give yourself just a moment to just close your eyes and just sense into the feeling for a second? And just remember you're with me and you're with people that love you because we're all watching and loving you. And just for just a moment, we're not going to have to go too deep into anything too painful, but just to give yourself a little presence with this feeling of that nausea and just the feeling of overriding yourself and the people pleasing, and just give it a little bit of presence. And when you have a connection to it, just nod your head or say, you got it. Okay. And as you're connected to that part of you, can you give it a little bit of compassionate connection right now in the step 3 here of just asking it what it needs? You can tell me if you feel comfortable.
And yeah, I mean, it needs like physical touch, candidly.
Comfort?
Yeah.
Is that the word you would use?
Yeah, I mean, I would also say separately, it also needs like yogurt. That's my coping mechanism with it.
Okay.
So I will often have like some secret yogurt or like ginger like gummies around
to fix the symptoms.
Yeah, the symptoms.
Okay, so it needs
so that's kind of more
comfort.
the symptom
it
management
wants some comfort.
part of it. The deeper part of it is just, it needs comfort. And Skylar, when she's available and around, does provide that for me, which is lovely. And it's therapeutic.
Yeah.
And I sort of built my toolkit, if you will, to provide some of that comfort to myself.
How might you be able to provide the comfort to that part?
It is. I do utilize breath work. Is really helpful.
Beautiful.
And I know that's a big part of your toolkit.
Can you give it a little bit of breath right now? Just like hand on your heart, hand on the belly where it is, and just give yourself a little bit of centering moment as you do. And give it a deep breath, just a really deep breath. and with me in this room, breathing with me, does this part know that I'm with it? Does it know that you're here?
Mm-hmm.
And if it wasn't in such a extreme place, trying to people please and manage, what else might this part be doing?
This part is also actually what I've realized one of the best parts of me.
Yeah.
Because when I am able to approach it with curiosity and compassion, I also realize that it is the part of me that I often can leverage for the purposes of connection and bringing people together.
It's why you are so wonderful what you do. Yeah.
And so that is always like the sort of wicked satori of it, is that, and maybe that's the trick, that's the power, is being able to transmute your trauma into your superpower.
That's right. In this moment, to wrap up the practice, let's give it a little bit more breath again. We have plenty of time to unpack it. And just connecting to it a little bit more. Does it still know that you're here? Does it know that we're witnessing what it needs? Needs some comfort, right? We're letting the part know that we know what it needs. And give it a little bit more breath, maybe in the moment, if you don't mind. And one more deep breath. Just really extend it to the part of you. Just give it to the part. And let it know that you're here. And now check in with your body a little bit more now. How do you feel in this moment, having this connection?
Calmer.
Right. See quality of self.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a ray of sunlight coming through the cloud.
Yeah. Do you feel connected to it?
Yeah. I mean, and, to be honest, to everyone listening and hearing, it's not my first rodeo.
Yeah.
Trying to make friends here.
Yeah. And the truth is whether it's something you've done before or something you've never done before, it needs your attention.
Yeah.
It's maybe not just 1 hour a week in therapy that it needs. It needs comfort. And while Skylar can provide it, she's not always around.
Right.
Who does it need comfort from? You.
Yeah.
Self. Can you just let the part, before we go, though, I want to make sure we wrap this up with the part. Can you just give it a little moment to just let it know that you are open to checking in more if you feel that? That in whatever words come for you, just let the part know that maybe this is something you can keep trying, keep connecting. That you heard what it said. In your own way, just giving it that sort of touch base. Okay. So the simplicity, first of all, thank you.
Thank you.
I want to say thank you to this beautiful people pleaser, because while that part of you has been extreme in your system, it's also done extraordinary things for the world. And the miracle and the promise of this practice in IFS, and even just the self-help practice, is that the more you check in with the part, the less it has to check out. And the more you check in, the more calmness, connection, compassion, clarity, creativity, courage, confidence, the more of that starts to expand inside of you. And the more you access that presence of self energy inside of you, the more that part of the people pleaser trusts self. And the more you strengthen that trust in that self energy, the more it can relax and thrive in harmony and thrive in its excellent role which it plays in the world, which is to care for others, which is to create space, which is to teach. We don't want to get rid of this people pleaser. We want to help it calm down. And when that part is calm, it can thrive. You know, you've achieved a lot in this lifetime, but you're only scratching the surface, because this healing is going to open your heart to just thrive. And that's the thing, is we have only achieved a fraction of what we really are capable of, because we've been managing. And if you ask these parts of you, know, if you weren't working so hard to manage my feelings, what else might you be doing? And you'd be like, I'm doing a lot. Like, it would be fabulous. And so, and I feel the same. I'm just getting started, because I'm helping the parts. I'm really just getting started with what I'm capable of.
Can I just turn the tables a tiny bit, because, or maybe make remark on an area potentially of convergence between you and I and our experiences. Part of how I manage and deal with that part of me is by digging into work. And productivity. And I say, well, if I just work harder and I'm more prolific, well, then, you know, people will like me and I'll belong, and that's cool. And that part of me will be assuaged. And so, you know, I know that workaholism is a real thing. And I know it's been a thing
for me, for sure. I'm a recovering workaholic for sure. And workaholism for me was, one, a protector that for many years was pushing down that impermissible experience. So much so that it was kind of the final frontier protector. Towards right before I remembered my trauma, I was so engaged in this extreme addiction of workaholism that I was having panic attacks and physically melting down, and my body was going numb, and it was really extreme. And then
when was
that? Was around 2016.
Okay.
Yeah, and it was really building. 10 years into my career, 6 or 7 books in, you know, having just extreme breakdowns, and I kept saying things like, "I'm cracking." I was cracking into a memory, and then that workaholism took on different forms as I started to recognize the trauma and started dealing with my trauma and remembering it. But for me, so for you, you spoke for the workaholic protector part, and you said, oh, it's helping me feel like I can do that thing so I can feel good enough, right? In my case, the belief for me was that if I don't do it, no one else will. And so what does that kind of core exiled belief do? It works its ass off to do everything, to maintain control, to feel safe, and does not in any way, shape, or form believe that it can be supported. And so that was a real root cause of that workaholism. And in working with the belief of, if I don't do it, nobody else will, and really tending to that part, checking in with that part regularly, speaking for that part rather than as that part, I have allowed that part to settle. And then as a result of allowing that part to settle, I've allowed myself to hire new people and attract the kind of talent that can really help support my work and the things that I'm doing in the world. And surround myself with people like this angel in the room, Josh, and say things even to you, like call you up and say, hey, I'm going to be in LA and I have 2 days and I really want to do some creative writing and I don't want to push this thing out of me, this project I'm doing. Can I come stay at your place in Topanga? Asking for help, welcoming resources, even being a magnet and a manifester that can attract the right talent. You can't even attract the right support if you don't believe you deserve the support.
Right.
So in healing the belief in that core wound of I don't believe I'm worthy of that support, or if I don't do it, nobody else will, I've been able to really settle that part. And now that part can do its great work, be here with you right now, and do it in creative ways, and do it in calm ways, and work. I haven't stopped working. I'm launching this book while writing another book. Right. I'm not working, but I'm not working in burnout mode. And he can testify. Joss is in the room. He can testify. You know, yesterday, instead of landing in Phoenix and hitting the ground running and knocking our heads over the table to get things done, I said, let's go have lunch. And then after lunch, I did a massage. And then after the massage, we went and we got on the treadmill. And I said, you know what, let's do our walk and talk. Let's plan the next 6 months of podcast while we walk on the treadmill. And then we'll stretch a little bit and talk about it some more. And so we got far more creative work done that day, doing less and attracting more. Because my workaholic is not there anymore. That workaholic is now a really hard worker who loves her work and wants to have fun doing it.
Yeah. I think that's a really unique component of IFS, is that it doesn't pathologize.
Completely.
Right?
It's a non-pathologizing therapy. And it's not blaming or shaming the part. It's all parts are welcome. There's no bad parts, as Dick Schwartz says. And when we start to give voice to these parts and start to give compassion and connection and the steps to these parts, they can settle. And in their safe space, when they start to trust that self is there, they start to know that self is there, they start to turn to self for help, then they can just be less extreme. And they can do great things.
So we've done at Commune generally a lot of work in the recovery and addiction space. And I'm wondering what the specific application of IFS is in specific regards to addiction.
I'm actually trained in IFS and addiction. I did a level 2 training in IFS and addiction. And the beauty for me, while I was writing this book, it's no accident. It's totally the universe and God's work hooking me up. That whole year, I was a fellow at a recovery center in my community. And so while writing the book, I was every month going to this recovery center and giving talks and teaching to 100 or 150 new people each 21 days, right? 28 days. And they'd recycle new people, and new people would finish their treatment, and new people would come in. So I was seeing new people every month.
Is that the one in Kent, that one? Okay, yeah.
And let's not say that because I don't want to say where I live.
Yeah.
But it was High Watch, And as I'm doing that, I'm workshopping this material. And there's many stories in the book, actually, about being in these recovery rooms. And there's one story in particular that's so, so beautiful. There's two, actually, and I'll share one of them. I walk in the room to the treatment center, and I walk past this young woman. She's probably 20 something. And she's hunched over in the chair, and she's like, call her up. I'm just going to make myself look. And she's like, literally like in that hunched over, almost like nodding out, right? Yeah. As if you could see her almost on the street. And I noticed her, and I took her in. And then I was on the stage, and I was doing this work, and I opened with sort of giving them the opportunity to witness the addiction as a part, not as themselves. Yeah. This may be a lot for a newcomer, but I bravely go there, and I just, explain through my own experience that I can now see that addiction as a protection mechanism. And I, ask the audience, like, how many of you experienced trauma? Like, every hand goes up, right? And so if you've had that trauma, wouldn't it be understandable that you would do whatever it takes to numb out that pain? And some people in the room would be pushing back. No, my addict is terrible and I'm horrible. And one or two people would be like, yeah, I can feel that. I can notice a little compassion. And as I start to engage in this a little bit more and teach them similar to what we just taught, I'll take them through a meditative practice, which is the self-help check-in. So I'll have them close their eyes, and we do a whole meditation, less back and forth because it's me and a group of 100. And so they're just doing it as I ask the questions. Let's take your attention, focus it inward. And I have them do it with I was having them do it with the addict, but that might have been a little bit ballsy of me because going directly to the addict is a little extreme. But I was doing it, and we were in a safe place. And as they would check in a little bit more, everybody in the room, some people would fall asleep, which is totally normal because that's another protector, right? It's like, this is too much. Who the fuck is this girl? They'd fall asleep, right? Some people, I'd see tears rolling down their face. This one woman that was hunched over about 20 minutes ago, I started to see just buckets of tears pouring down her face. And as the tears flowed down her face, her whole body started to transform, and she just started to roll her shoulders back, and she just started to breathe more deeply. And at the end of the process, she raised her hand, and she said, I've never felt anything before until just now. And she recognized that this addiction was a part of her, not who she was. And not only did she have the words to vocalize that, Jeff, but she also transcended this into this new energy. And she walked up to me at the end to hug me and to thank me. And literally she looked 10 years younger. And she looked so bright-eyed and innocent and free, childlike. Because when we unburden these protectors, where do we return to? Our childlike natural states. Creativity, connection, play, joy, fun. And she just came up to me and I was like, you look different. She's like, I feel so different. It was a shape shifting in front of my eyes. And so this story is just so meaningful because even in a quick check-in, the miracle can happen. Mm-hmm. You can have that feeling of the unburdening and the lifting off of you for even a moment. Maybe you go right back to it 10 minutes later. It doesn't, it depends on how strong these parts are, but you can experience that miracle. And when you have that spiritual proof that this can work, you want more of it and you can come back to it. And as it relates to addiction, so addiction is the firefighter. And the firefighter is there to put out the suffering of the exiled, traumatized part. Mm-hmm. And these parts don't want to be asked why. They don't want to be asked, why did you do it? Well, what's wrong with you? Why did you do it? They want to really be asked, how did you get here? How are you feeling? Mm-hmm. And really be offered curiosity of, what do you need? Because most of their experience, these extreme addictions, is of the world extending nothing but shame, blame, and attack onto them, right? These parts have done extreme things and they've received extreme backlash. And what they need most is self. Mm-hmm. There's no amount of shame and blame that can get somebody sober. It's a compassionate process. It's a practice of self-forgiveness. Mm-hmm. And in fact, there's a chapter in the book called Self-Forgiveness. And that's what I love about that practice. And this is great for addicts listening or anyone that's living with an extreme protector that they feel ashamed of or they feel they're blaming themselves for, is to express some love to that part and to let that part know that you don't have to figure out how to forgive yourself. That you just connect to the part through a process like this or through IFS. And as you connect to that part, forgiveness happens spontaneously.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think so often with addiction, that the addiction itself is kind of behind it. There is actually really good intention. It's just it's a inappropriate substitute for the desire to feel connected, calm, etc.
I wouldn't even name it inappropriate. I would even be even more. But you're absolutely right. It's coming out in extreme non-acceptable, socially acceptable ways, right?
And
Inappropriate,
maladaptive.
Correct.
Yeah.
Nevertheless, it is 100% serving a very important role because it is numbing out extreme impermissible fear and shame and inadequacy and guilt that is so scary. I mean, many addicts have sexual trauma or extreme experiences of trauma, which are just so shameful that you actually can. The words I used was if I don't use in this way, I will die. Like I had a really severe love addiction for many years. It was like, if I'm not in a relationship, I will die. That's what it felt like, death. And that's what a lot of addicts will recall, that kind of, if I'm not using, I will die, because the fear of facing into those feelings is so extreme.
Wow. Yeah. So what you propose here in self-help in this book is a way for people to administer a form of IFS on themselves.
Yeah.
And that is, incredibly useful for people that really need this work. How would you advise them in terms of, okay, you can do it by yourself or you can work with a licensed therapist, et cetera? So,
yes, I am in the full devotion of my friend, Dr. Richard Schwartz, and doing whatever I can to support him. And one of those things is to help him find ways, and he's very keen to figure out ways to train more trainers, train more therapists. There's a wait list of tens of thousands of people trying to get this training.
Wow.
And so there are many, many though out there using it. And so going to the ifsinstitute.org, can you just Google that and make sure it's correct? I don't know if I think it's .org. But going to ifsinstitute.org and looking up for an IFS therapist near you. And throughout the book, I give resources, and there's a resources section, deargabby.com/self-help.
Right.
Book resources or self-help resources. You can find that out for me too. We'll pick up those at the end. And what I'm trying to do in this book is not go to the exile. I don't want you to practice these 4 steps, going to the traumatized little girl, or, we went to the people pleaser today, right? We didn't go to the little boy that was sliding. That's something that maybe you can do, and you have done in your therapy.
And do you feel that is that because that's just too potentially caustic to do on your own?
I do. I think that maybe you or maybe me could do that on our own. We have decades of personal development. We have our spiritual teachers on speed dial and our therapists on speed dial. We have every resource under the sun. And I've been practicing self-help for so long that I definitely can go to an exile, but even still, I don't. I do it in my therapy. I do it with my therapist. And it's not to say you couldn't. It's just I don't want to send people off going and digging in. And you also don't have to. Yeah. Many people, the whole thing is, remember, we've been avoiding these exiles. So to try to go to that dark place would just rip off the Band-Aid and in many ways take all of these management tools and tactics that have kept you sort of alive and blow out I'm out of the water and rip off the Band-Aid or rip off, turn the lights on too fast, and it will be too extreme for your system. So I don't recommend it. I recommend titrating in slowly, then go have a coffee and, come back a few later and you have another little trigger and you do another little check-in. And you might not even know that these things are parts yet. You might just be like, I have anxiety or I have stomach cramps, or check in with the parts. There's a whole chapter on anxious parts. There's a chapter on body parts, physical pain being a protector, that, psychosomatic protector. If you focus on the physical pain, you don't have to focus on the mental pain. Yeah. And so the checking in with the physicality or checking in with the emotional state, that's fine too. You don't have to name a part of you. And checking in, spot checking where you are in the moment. I'm not recommending that this is like, go deep now and find all these things. It's like, where are you right here now? I always like to say this great phrase that this IFS coach that we had for our company would say is, who's in the room? Who's in the room? Yeah. And then we do that. You can do that with your team. Like, sit down. Like, who's in the room? Do this book with your teams, people. This is going to be next level stuff with teams. Yeah.
Are you familiar at all with Peter Levine and somatic experiencing?
Yeah. No, I've done SE. I write about it in Happy Days, actually. Yeah.
And because I find that there is a slightly parallel there.
Oh yeah.
And it's been also, Peter's work's also been around for 4 decades, and then finally sort of really just caught fire and blossomed. And I think he has done a good job with all of his trainings and things like that.
Yes.
So there's a lot of SE.
A lot of people,
licensed folks. But I find that there is a crossover or convergence there with really checking in somatically. And this was a big breakthrough for me. Yeah. Because for me, it was always up here. It was always cognitive. It was always, okay, Jeff, you're going to solve this in your brain.
You were doing that even when we were checking in.
I know.
And that's why I was sort of like, and the thing when that part comes in, you can always ask those parts. You can say, I was sort of doing a little bit. I was like, let's ask that part to step aside for a minute, and then we'll come back to the part we're working with. Yeah. But that's totally natural. Yeah.
And
connecting to your body. Yeah.
And just really feeling into the places in your body where big T or small t trauma is manifesting. Where is it lodged? Where is it stuck? And then also on the flip side, it's like, where do I feel super strong? Like about a year ago, I started getting into squatting, not just like in the gym, but like resting squats and air squat. And like my legs just got so strong.
Nice. Yeah.
And I feel just really powerful there. So anytime I have these, more anxious feelings tied to my trauma or, that manifest often as nausea, I can sort of pendulate between that feeling and then like, but my legs are just strong and feel great, And Beautiful. It is amazing. It's just a very simple I don't even want to call it a hack, but it has been something that is new to me to really become more introspective around just where things are showing up in my body and not just in my head.
Absolutely. Because so much of our trauma happens in the body too. So, or it gets stored in the body. And so what I love about SE is that it's a body-based trauma therapy, right, and let the body reveal and let the body heal. There is a lot of that. And there's also people who've done great work combining SE and IFS. Or combining EMDR and IFS. And it's very cool when people bring these modalities together. And there's definitely a somatic experience happening when you're doing IFS, because when you're checking in with the part, you don't want to just intellectually check in. You want to, where is this in my body? What is the physical sensation that's attached to it? Does it have a color? Does it have a shape? How would you define that? Let the part share how it feels inside.
Yeah. Yeah, I found that too. So the signatures of different parts of yourself, or the signatures of self, because sometimes self is such a big concept, but am I truly just feeling a sense of connectedness to the world around me? And then as almost an indicator of how am I sitting in my best self, in that self?
Yeah.
Am I really feeling joy for someone else's joy? That's a big one for me.
Yeah.
Because I can project my own unfulfilled potential on other people's success a lot. And we do, anyone who's on social media, it's very easy to do that. Someone else just, hit number 1 on the New York Times bestseller list. Why is that not me? But to actually feel just pure joy for someone else's success and joy. And to me, that's the signature of self, It's
absolutely. Cool. Yeah. Because self is absent of the protectors.
Yeah. Right.
And is presence.
Yeah.
And even in SE, they say that the felt sense, the felt sense of presence. And Peter Levine says that trauma is the inability to be present.
Yeah.
And so as we heal these traumas and these parts, presence emerges naturally, because presence is self.
Yeah. He had a great quote, is that he called it the tyranny of the past. And so often we spend our lives just cogitating over past events and then projecting them into the future, as Daniel Kahneman calls that, as anticipated memories. Mm-hmm. Like we're creating bad memories in the future. We're not even there yet.
Yeah.
And this is something to untangle. One thing that I've always just admired about you is that you continue to just retain just such a sense of curiosity, of growth, of learning. And I know that, and I don't mean to frame that within a drive just to be productive, but it seems to be just emblematic of who you are. So where is that coming from?
I believe that even in the moments throughout all of the sort of breakdowns to break through, self was always there. Mm-hmm. And so the word you used was curiosity. That's self.
Yeah.
So this self energy of curiosity is a constant force in my life that I continue to expand and grow as a result of not wanting to be in pain, not wanting to suffer, being in the pursuit of inner freedom, and psychically knowing that I chose this lifetime to go through everything I've been through, to undo all of these dark nights of the soul, and to experience freedom, to be a voice for it, to be able to sit in the seat of inner safety and presence and know what that means, not just talk about something that sounds nice, but to transmute it through my truth and my knowing, and through the words in every reprint of every book. Mm-hmm. And so as I develop more and more, that knowing and that truth and that presence is expanding. And so my curiosity will never end because this is the choice I made in this lifetime. I chose to choose a life of unlearning fear and remembering love and being a teacher of that love.
What lights you up more than anything else? Is it having that cup of coffee and sitting down with your journal or a new book project? Is it out on the road?
What do you think it is if you think of me?
Well, it's funny. I know you on the stage, but to me, that is not your natural habitat, or just to me. Obviously, you're incredible and you help so many people. But where I see this softer, introspective Gabby, who is quiet, is in her home life, is a beautiful partner, is a beautiful mother, and is very aware and conscious and curious and creative and loves that environment. And yes, you come out of that and it's like glittery and wonderful and big lights and big stages. That's probably where most people see you, but I don't know, that might be my projection onto you. But
I like your projection, because I think that forever I would have probably said on stage,
right?
Because it's when I'm channeling and it's when I'm riffing and it's so much joy. But you actually described it first, which is the cup of coffee at my desk with my cats, sitting down with I would like to turn off the internet and just write.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm going to be in Topanga this weekend.
Love it.
Just writing with a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
And then, of course, I mean, I have this beautiful person, my two people, the men in my life, my son and my baby boy, and just being able to be in the present state with them, which is a state I was never in for so many years. Finally be able to be there.
Yeah. Well, Gabby, you've helped so many people, and I consider myself fortunate to be one of them.
Right back at you.
And I've just so enjoyed our intersecting relationship, and I hope we can grow old together. I mean,
we will. Like we will be 90 in this studio, in this space, doing exactly this.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, we're coming up 15 something years. This is a long time friendship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, your book is self-help, and I can vouch for it because it's helped myself. Just even in the short time that I've spent with it, it's given me a deeper understanding of who I am, a more compassionate understanding of who I am. And this work is just fantastic. So thank you so much. And
let's thank Dr. Richard Schwartz for the transformational gift that he's given us. And the last thing I'll say is the best thing about launching this book, it's my 10th book.
Wow.
And the nicest thing about launching it is that it's so not about me. It's in the service of Dick's work. It's in the service of bringing this method to the world in a way that can touch other people's lives and give them a tool so they can change. And it's for the first time of 10 books now. It's just not about me.
Yeah.
And
it's nice. It's
liberating.
Really,
it's just like, I'm just like, oh, well, God will do what God needs to do with this. You know, it will be developed and it'll be taken care of. It's nice.
Beautiful. Thanks, Gabby.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks a lot for watching. If you enjoyed this video, then I think you'll love this one too.